Okay, so
Do you
welcome to the,
see that on?
what's that?
Oh, I see Cindy's on.
Okay, welcome
Hi,
to
good
the
evening.
hi, welcome to the joint HHS Housing Committee meeting of Committee Board 7. It's Tuesday, November 28th, and we have wonderful guests with us this evening. And one, a longtime friend, Leilani Irving, who is the director of the Department of Social Services Manhattan Borough Division. And maybe you can introduce, Leilani, you can introduce your partner tonight.
Yes, most certainly. Thank you
Mhm.
for having me this evening. For those who don't know me, my name is Leilani Irvin. I'm the Manhattan Borough Director, as Mr. Shelley Fine expressed, for the Department of Social Services. I've been liaising and working with this board for a long, long time on a number of different shelter sightings that we propose in community districts and street homeless issues and matters. So it's a pleasure to be before you all again. And I'm joined by my lovely colleague who I'd love to just turn it over to Cindy Tita to introduce herself and explain what she does for our amazing Department of Homeless Services division.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Leilani. Good evening, everyone. My name is Cindy Tita. I am the Associate Commissioner at DHS for the Crisis Management Unit. I have been with this team for the past 3 months, but not for a short time with DHS. I've been with the agency over 19 years, primarily with building programs, most specifically from families with children to single adults, and now working specifically with the asylee population. Thank you for having me here tonight. I apologize in advance for my voice. I'm a little bit under the weather, and I'm sorry I'm not on video. I'm just leaving the doctor's office now.
Okay, just want the members of the committee to introduce themselves. Let's start with Sheldon.
Hi, I'm Tibita, Kaneene. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Housing Committee.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Terry Alexandra. I'm a new member of the board.
Okay.
I'm Ken Coughlin, a member of Health and Human Services Committee. I'm Mitchneck. I'm a member of the Housing Committee.
Holly Spain, member of the Housing Committee. Stryker-Robbins, member of the Health
Okay. Shelley Fine, co-chair of Health and Human Services, and on our screen, Jami, want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jami Floyd, and I am the under the weather member of both the HHS committee and the Housing Committee. And thank you all for entertaining my virtual presence.
Okay. And we have our chair of our board, Leslie Donahue, who's waving. Okay, Roberta Seema, who is with us also. And Alexandra, Crawford, who is controlling the technology, okay, tonight. And we have our IT person. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Aidan Stryker. Yeah.
Okay, Aiden's been with us before, and we're short of a great evening. I think, yeah. So
Shelley, I'm also representing D3 Open Arms, which is part of our community board is part of it.
okay. Thank you. Okay, so we're ready when you're ready.
Is that? Are you talking to me, Shelley?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's a little, the signal's coming through a little, the volume. Sure, I'm not sure exactly where you'd like for me to begin, but I know that when you all reached out, it was in the spirit of wanting to, as a community board, you all expressed interest in wanting to be of some support and assistance to our migrant population. And I know, I believe Roberta just mentioned Sheltering Open Arms, and forgive me if I mispronounce the name of the organization, which I think we're very familiar with, reached out with some interest in wanting to collect or, make some donations to our asylum seeker DHS operated sites. And I'm being very intentional by saying DHS operated, as I understand there's a macro challenge amongst the city of providing emergency capacity. DHS is one of the many other agencies that's providing emergency capacity for the asylum seekers. And so I know I'm happy to kind of talk through with your board on the many different ways we can work together and partner together to think, to be creative in collaborating around ways to make donations possible for this population that we're servicing in your community board district. But before I begin there, I kind of want to take a step back and just speak to the crisis through the lens of the way DHS has been managing it. Because I know that was a question that you had, Shelley, and the board. So just to be, if I can just I'm only speaking for DHS. Once, I know a lot of folks have read in the news, that we see that we have an asylum seeker crisis where asylees are coming through many different points of entry into the city, one of them being Port Authority. The city DHS immediately began to provide emergency capacity wherever we could for the asylum seeker population. And so what we were doing was initially standing up emergency hotels to provide emergency capacity for asylum seekers, families with children, single adult men, single adult women, and adult families. And then the city, became a little bit more robust in their approach. And I'm not speaking for the city in its totality, but do want to kind of paint the picture for you all on how we've been working together to manage the crisis with our sister agency partners. We've, over time, other agencies have been of great support and assistance with providing additional emergency capacity. So that's health and hospitals, OEM, Office of Emergency Management, in some cases HPD and others, who are also providing emergency shelter capacity for this population. But tonight I'm only going to be speaking to the shelter sites and the operation process of what DHS has been doing. I can't speak for any other agency that's providing emergency capacity for this population. So this evening, you all will be hearing from me and Cindy exclusively just about the way DHS has been managing and operating in servicing this population. And so in your respective community board district, we have 3 emergency, what I will say, I'll define them, and Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, but we'll call them emergency sanctuary hotels, where we're providing emergency capacity for asylum seekers. Due to client confidentiality, and I know that this is recorded, whenever any site comes to your district, it's me and my unit who gives the formal notification to the community board and elected officials. We share those addresses with the respective appointed individuals with the community board and elected officials in this district. For the sake of tonight's conversation, and I know this is public, I can't publicly state the addresses due to client confidentiality, but we'll confirm that there are 3 sanctuary emergency hotels that we're operating in this district. We shared them with the district manager of the board, the chairs, and elected officials. And that is what my colleague, Cindy, has oversight of at these particular 3 emergency hotel locations, where we're sheltering families with children. And so I know, Shelley, you had generic top line questions about what services look like. So I'm gonna, at this moment, pivot to Cindy to kind of just give an overview of what the day-to-day operations looks like at these sanctuaries hotels. And then I'd like to go back to having the conversation with the board about constructive, creative ways we can work together to come up with, ways we can forge a partnership of donations. And I'll put a pin in that because, in short, there's very limited space at these hotels. And so I'd like to circle back with the conversation on ways we can work with the community board of the community at large to help us identify locations, whether it be houses of worship, to deem, I guess, designated locations for community members to drop off donations. And then we can coordinate on our end to let our clients know to go to these locations to pick up, any donations that you all were thinking of, distributing to our most vulnerable populations in these sanctuary hotel locations. But before I talk about that, want to take the opportunity to allow Cindy to kind of give a little top line overview of how we're managing at these locations and what the day-to-day looks like and the way we're partnering and liaising with other agencies to provide supports.
Okay. Thank you, Leilani. That was a great overview and intro. I'll be happy to, take any questions, but I will give you an overview of what our day-to-day looks like at our sanctuary sites. So because these are emergency sanctuary sites and our need to ensure that we are placing our families in a safe environment, we are standing up these hotels pretty rapidly. As such, they are being staffed by the National Guard. And when I say the National Guard, I think that, people may have a vision of what that may be or what their job entails. It is nothing to do with enforcement. It's all about how they're providing additional client services to our clients at these facilities in the moment. They have been an amazing resource for us to dispatch when we need them to help oversee the operations of the site. And I'd like to repeat that they are not in any way, shape, or form any type of enforcement. And actually really further from that, all about engaging our clients and the children, assisting them with whatever they may need help navigating with while they're at the hotel. Additionally, the agency, DHS, has a contract with our temp vendor to provide staffing to the hotels that work in coordination with the National Guard. So we have a team of temps that help with the day-to-day casework and social services needs of the families. Between the National Guard and the temp teams, they are assisting our clients with ensuring that they're getting 3 meals a day, that we are making allowances for any kind of dietary needs, and or anything to supplement their conditions that they may have, so that they are eating healthy and nutritious meals that are meeting the New York City standards for food guidelines. We also have them there to work with our children, specifically hand in hand with a DOE liaison, to ensure that our children are enrolled in school if they are school aged and ready to go. Ready to go, meaning that they're up to date with their vaccinations. The DOE has been partnering with us to ensure that we are referring clients and families to obtain vaccinations if the families choose to have their children vaccinated. They give them a period of time in which to get this completed. So the teams on the ground are assisting with that. We are also working with them on case management. So if they need a letter of residence, if they need assistance with referrals for healthcare, medical care, psychiatric services, if needed, for all the trauma that they may have endured during their journey here, assistance acclimating, right? How to navigate New York City, a new country, ESL, whatever that looks like, we're here to provide those referrals to them. So the shelter, quasi-shelter in the hotel setting is what you'd find at most shelters. It is not as robust in the programming because they are emergency sites. So we're basically meeting the needs that are imminent, front and center, to work with those families and meet them where they're at. Separate and aside to that, we also have a security vendor on site, which is for the most part FJC. Again, these are for our emergency sanctuary sites. These are sites that have not yet been taken over or contracted to a provider, okay? So FJC works to provide the security of the building, signing families in and out, making sure that, you know, contraband is not getting into the building, that the building is safe and secure. DHS has its own oversight team, is the team that I also manage. It consists of program administrators and program analysts. These support teams also go out to the sites, and we are ensuring that we have enough supplies on hand, that we are in compliance with meeting the needs of the families. As such, these visits could happen anytime during the day or night, announced or unannounced. I'd like you all to think of the program administrators, which are senior management at DHS, kind of working as a quasi program director, right? For multiple sites, since we don't have like a full director with a provider on site as yet. So there's a lot of hand holding in terms of really monitoring the day-to-day of what's going on from a DHS lens. In the background, we are working with our providers who have been identified and matched to certain facilities in the contracting process that's on the back end, so that those providers could come in and transition to continue with the work that we've already established and forge ahead with ensuring that more programming and a robust team of staff are there to work with the clients and the families. Additionally, as Leilani mentioned earlier, you know, the hotel settings are very, very limited for space. As such, we are very creative in what we can do at the site. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So we may like use the area where maybe a small like pantry or cafeteria area. We'll also try in that space when we're not serving meals, try to do some sort of workshop or recreation. We partner with a lot of organizations to come in and work with our families on different initiatives. So we've done the back to school, we've done a few things with, connecting clients to resources, especially around the holidays. We had like at one facility in another borough, work with the DOE to, you know, have these families transported so that they can enjoy Thanksgiving and we're able to obtain donations, right? So we're really always looking for creativity and partnerships on how we can include our families with things, but also have it done in the community because of the lack of space thereof at the facilities. So this is a constant, you know, struggle and work in progress for us. But the families are appreciative and they do enjoy that. Another aspect of the work, and I'm sorry if I'm giving you too much granular detail, but I wanted to give you like a full picture. DHS is working on eligible families and individuals for TPS, which is the temporary protective status, especially for those who meet that criteria. We're also working on work authorizations for those who also qualify it, and for ongoing assessments for other services and resources that may become available to those families, right? So we're constantly assessing and reassessing. That work is being done by DHS directly. So we'll come in at night, we'll come in on the weekends, and we will interview and meet with clients to really identify a path forward, right? Because the individuals that came here made a decision for a better life for themselves in one way, shape, or form. Everybody's story is different and they're valid. And their journey does not stop here at the shelter. It needs to forge ahead to what they want it to be. So we want to ensure that we're providing them with all of the education, the resources, the guidance, the advisement, you name it, so that we could help them reach their goals. One last aspect to share with you all is relocation and resettlement work, which simply means for clients that have met eligibility criteria and who are interested, we have resources for those individuals and families to relocate to another county outside of New York City. They would get their housing paid for them for up to a year, inclusive of case management services and furniture allowances. This is something that is slow to start because many families, as they're becoming acclimated here, may dread having to go ahead and start over somewhere else, but we want to make sure that they're aware of what options are available to them. A significant number so far have moved on to other counties and are living quite comfortably in their new homes and environments and acclimating to those new communities while they're identifying work and stabilizing their families even further. So we're really happy to share, those updates with everyone that we have an opportunity to speak with. Oh, one other thing I'd like also to mention, that many clients think that they're not qualified for certain benefits. We're also assessing them to ensure that they are maximizing what they are entitled to while they are here. So we are, encouraging clients to, apply for any type of entitlement, especially those moms that are pregnant and are going to give birth to American-born children. So there's a lot of things going on in the background. Unfortunately, not a lot of it can happen at the site, but we're like an octopus and we're connecting all of the different tentacles all around just to ensure that the families feel very supported, that they feel safe, and that they are really educated to make an informed decision on what they feel may be best for their families. I hope that was helpful. And, if I can clarify anything or answer any questions, I'd be happy to do so. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Cindy.
It was certainly comprehensive and really informative on so many levels. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Do you want to entertain questions now, or Leilani, do you want to?
Perhaps could I defer to you. We're happy to take questions. Yeah.
Shelley, Cheryl Parker is on. She is one of the coordinators for D3 Open Arms. Can we just tell you a little bit about what Open Arms has been doing?
Open Arms.
So Open Arms working with VHS?
No, it is. It's a consortium. It's been working with DOE. I think Cheryl's here. Cheryl, maybe you can speak better than me. You need to unmute.
Please.
Sure, and I too am struggling this evening. I have a cold, so I'll do my best, but Roberta, please feel free to jump in. And I think Shula is there as well, and also is quite involved with us. So D3 Open Arms is a coalition of schools, nonprofits, houses of worship, and elected officials that are working together within the geographic area covered by School District 3 to meet the needs of asylum seekers. And the reason for this is that we discovered early last year that there were many of us within the community who were working independently on these issues in parallel without talking to one another. And so the goal here is that by building relationships among those of us doing the work, we can learn from one another, we can share and highlight issues, resources and projects that support the New Yorker community, and we can find ways to align our efforts. And so we've been focusing on a number of things. I was interested to hear you mention material donations earlier. That's been a big part of our work. But we've also been involved in thinking about ways to mobilize around the 60-day limit and stays within the shelters to provide ESL support to clients, because we understand that the need for ESL is far beyond the capacity of organizations to meet it and to provide tutoring, just to name a few. Roberta, please feel free to chime in if there are things that I've left out.
And there have been clothing drives. There have been some of the House of Worship. Kay, who's a board member at St. Paul and St. Andrew, every Monday has a program in the morning for asylum seekers, where there are lawyers that are helping them, people, all sorts of different people. There's food, there's clothing. And then Wednesday night, they provide tutoring for children and some English as a second language program. B'nai Jeshurun has been very involved. Congregation Road of Shalom has been very involved. Some of the other churches have been very involved. St. Peter's, just to name a few. And
we've also had a number of the cultural institutions in the neighborhood at the table: Children's Museum and the New York Historical Society.
And the JCC has done some clothing drives, and it is a consortium with the PTAs and the representatives from the different schools. So that's just, and it keeps growing. I think you keep adding people every month.
Yep, we also have the superintendent and his staff at the table with us.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to get back to questions for Cindy, and we'll come back to them talking about other ways to support and get involved. Cindy, does anyone at the table have questions? Please, Polly and then Sonia.
All right, so it's mentioned that there's 3 locations in our district where you are providing services for families specifically. So are they under the criteria of the 60-day limit on the stay? And if so, what happens after the 60-day limit? They relocated somewhere else. Can you respond to that?
Yes.
Great question. Oh, Delia, did you want to take that, Leilani?
No, I was gonna just and you can chime in if I miss it, just to confirm it. At this moment, no, we have not issued the 60-day notice to families. Cindy, I don't know if you wanted to add anything or say anything specifically.
That information is correct. At this juncture, we are not issuing any 60-day notices to families with children.
So I know that the city had stated that there will be a 60-day notice implemented. If and when that happens, how would you guys handle the transitioning for those families?
So I think the best way to answer that is if and when, or should that happen to our families, in the event that our families in our DHS system, not speaking for other systems, are issued the notices, we would work with those families to identify their best options. As I mentioned previously, we do have relocation services for our families, and we can help process with them any feasible ideas that they may have to continue on their journey and help them to support reaching that. Additionally, if they're not interested, let's say, in one of the areas where there are relocation services, where for qualified families who could relocate to another county, such as, Buffalo, Erie, Suffolk, Westchester, Albany. We also have resources available for clients and families to relocate to other areas if we are able to verify and confirm that they have a safe place to stay and that they're welcome to go there. So for example, if they have a family member, let's say in Kentucky, and we verify that, we can help with travel assistance to get them to where they'd like to go. So that's the more broad answer, but I think each family's specific situation and circumstances are different, and we'd have to leverage a response based on what their needs are and how we can be best positioned to assist them and support them.
Thank you.
Sonia?
You're welcome.
Hi, good evening. Maybe some of these questions may have been answered, but what is the percentage of those families that want to relocate?
I can't give you a percentage per se because we haven't like had that information. That's not available to me. Like we haven't I guess for lack of a better statement, like polled who wants to relocate. I think those who are interested now in relocating are accessing the services and the resources to do so, right? So part of our work is, and I was remiss in mentioning it also, is every Thursday and Friday, my team facilitates a presentation on resettlement efforts. What that means is we have representatives that are kind to volunteer to us every week, twice a week from NILAG, and come in and talk about immigration issues and information on resettlement and work authorization, right? And every week we hold up to 100 clients. So we're really like spreading the information out to them to come in, to hear about the session, to see if they qualify, to see if they're interested. So 2 parts of the session. One is from NILAG about work authorization and the process and any kind of like basic immigration services, and then connecting them to other services should they need it based on their situation, because it is really client and family specific, depending on where they came from and what their situation is right now as they've entered the country and how they've gotten here and, you know, what those circumstances are for them. And then the second part of the session is about relocation, really giving them a presentation about all of the counties and what is offered to them at those counties. If they agree to do that and say, you know what, I am going to try this with my family and I'd like to relocate to another area, they sit with a member of my team. We go through all of the information, we answer their questions, and then we process them and make that referral to those counties. Those counties then reach out to those families based on the packet we present to them, and then they begin to engage them and match them to apartments that they will furnish and provide case management services to them for up to a year.
Oh, I have a second question.
Please.
My second question is, what is the difference, aside from the fact that these are people, asylum seekers, are we doing with our existing homeless vis-a-vis the asylum seekers? Is there is there a difference in how we handle those cases?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the first part of your question because it came in a little unclear for me?
What is the difference, if any, are we doing for the existing homeless population that we have right now vis-a-vis the asylum seekers?
Okay, so our regular homeless families, individuals that are, excuse me, let me rephrase that. For our individuals in our system that are experiencing homelessness, right?
Yes.
Everybody's case approach is different, right? So if you're talking about the general population of people that are experiencing homelessness, they're still, taking their course and forging ahead with their situations and what they could do to move on to the next juncture of their lives, whether it's permanent housing, supportive housing, subsidized housing, whatever that looks like for them. The teams at the shelters are working with them. That work goes uninterrupted. I think the difference is with this population is this is a crisis. This is emergent. We are giving them basic necessities to support them in their trek here. And many different levels of assistance are coming together to try and support them in a way that will be helpful and useful for them. So I think the difference with this is that because this is so quick, because this is an emergent situation, just providing them with the basic necessities that they need and connecting them to resources based on their eligibility is a different route. Whereas when our other individuals who are non-asylum seekers are entering our system, experiencing homelessness, there's a slightly different approach in terms of being assessed. If they're singles, they go to specified shelters based on what their needs are for either mental health, substance use, LGBTQI, special needs, older adults, younger adults, right? So there's a gamut of things. Families with children, we try to work with them and get them with everybody, honestly, like the communities where they've came from, right? And trying to find availability in our shelters that can help support them so they don't lose those community ties, right? And we work with them with a more robust setting, including like recreation services for the children, more on-site workshop and programming, things that ideally we would love to do with our newly arrivals. However, due to space constraints, due to the emergent situation, we have to try and allocate these resources outside of the facility so that we can get them to the clients. It's not that we don't want to give them everything, and we're not segregating the clients whatsoever. We're trying to enhance their stay as best that we can, but understanding that this is a huge undertaking and crisis for us, in addition to our other New Yorkers or otherwise who are also experiencing homelessness. So, it's compounded on both ends. And as we're in our winter months right now, usually our numbers go up in the single adult system, right? Lots more people coming in seeking shelter and they don't want to be on the streets. A lot of people may be starting to get displaced after the holidays because their families are only tolerating them or helping them out until that time. So, we're really in a crunch right now, but we are doing our best to forge forward with all the individuals under our system.
Well stated, Cindy. If I can just add, from an operational perspective, the only thing this is an unprecedented crisis amongst us. And I think from an operations perspective, we're standing up emergency capacity in real time at a very rapid, quick rate with this particular, population, right? So we still are servicing our everyday New Yorkers coming through our DHS intake points of entry that you heard Cindy reference, where they get assessed. So that's still happening in concert with the waves of folks we see coming off buses. So it's really just about how quickly we're standing up these emergency sites. That's the difference from my perspective in terms of the operations of this work, to which Cindy and her team, hats off, because they're at this day in and day out, 24/7, 7 days a week. If we've received a bus today with a great volume of 50 or plus people, we have to, the city's working rapidly to identify where can we find capacity to shelter these, individuals. So I think that's, from my perspective, if I can add anything operationally, that's a big difference on how quickly we have to stand these locations up.
Cindy, can you take two more questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Ken?
Yeah, I have two questions.
Okay, three questions.
Two
people.
Thank you for coming here. One, I don't know, you might have said this, but how many total families or people are on the Upper West Side in the three locations? And the other question is, I know that one of the big impediments is filling out the asylum application, which I understand is about 10 pages long and extremely complex, and probably need at some point a lawyer to look at it. So is anybody providing help with those applications? Or when you're referring people to anything like that?
Yes. So to answer your first question, I may pivot that to Leilani. I don't have that actual breakdown of numbers for you, but in terms of the seeking asylum paperwork, yes, we are assisting. That's part of the work that we are doing in the ongoing assessments to see if those individuals, right? It's very complicated, right? And I think people use these words very interchangeably about seeking asylum, migrants, right, new arrivals, all of that. So everybody, they may appear to be, but not everybody is seeking asylum. And so we are doing ongoing assessments to help determine who really is seeking asylum and helping them navigate the lengthy paperwork that goes hand in hand with that. So that's, yes, we are helping with that. We're also helping with TPS, temporary protective status, and we're also helping with work authorizations. So we are connecting clients to those who can best help them get those applications and that work completed, and also, you know, helping the client to understand, right? This is a lot for them to digest, right, and to process, and really kind of helping them understand exactly what's happening each step of the way and supporting them so that they understand, you know, what they're doing and what they're forging ahead towards, and how is the best route carved out for them to get there. I don't mean literally, it could be figuratively, right? But both ways, right? Like in what's happening ahead for them.
Thank you. And I can provide the capacity numbers I'm pulling that information. So if you'd allow me time to get back to you on that before we close out, I can share those numbers. Don't have that in front of me at the moment, but I can get that for you before we close.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Question from Tibita, who initiated the contact for tonight's meeting.
Yeah, thank you. We want to say thank you, Leilani and Cindy, for coming and presenting. It was very informative and exactly what we were looking for. So my question, as I said in my email, was, you know, is there any way in which the community board can help you? You know, I know we can't appropriate funds or anything, but we can, you know, we can provide our voice to advocate for you to the city council. Yeah, I know there's currently, you know, a budget negotiation going on for the city. Is there any way that we can, you know, make your life easier or help you get resources, rules changes, funds that you might do?
Yeah, I would just say, first of all, let me just say how supportive this community has been to this population. We, from the moment I notified on each of these locations, it's just been, the response has been overwhelming of in the most positive way. And in doing this work, as long as I've been in this position, it just was very refreshing to see. And, you know, and I know our clients at these locations truly do appreciate it. I think the most important thing with all of our sites, not just sanctuary sites, is for our clients to feel like they're a part of community, and to feel like they're a part of the neighborhood. And I know that is, you know, what I've kind of seen showcased from you all. And that if I can just continue to just encourage that, is all that we really need. I know that there are specific needs. I'd like to circle back with your board, and perhaps maybe it'd be helpful to give you a list of needs that Cindy and her team may see, that at these particular locations our clients might need. It's the winter time. I would imagine they may not have winter coats and
yes, I was gonna just interject, like that's what they need, right? I'm sorry, Leilani, like first I'm super grateful and my heart is full, and thank you all for your kindness and your empathy to our new arrivals. It's really appreciated. And I believe this is the same community, correct me if I'm wrong, that helped with my clients at the Lucerne. Yes, right? Yeah. So thank you again, right? Our paths cross again, because I was the assistant commissioner during that time for our gentleman at the Lucerne, and I was appreciative then, and I'm even more appreciative now. So thank you for that first and foremost. But yes, coats, warm clothing. I don't mean to paint the picture as such, but the people came here literally with what's on their backs, and they're coming from hot climates and they don't have warm clothing. So we have children. I mean, I don't have breakdowns of sizes, obviously, but I'm sure whatever we get can be purposed for anyone in this community. Warm coats, sweaters, warm socks, thermals. They're really not familiar with this weather, and they're not dressed appropriately.
That's where, Shelley, that's where 3D Open Hearts has really been at the forefront of doing clothing drives and doing with some of the public schools. And Cheryl, Leilani, I'd like to connect you tomorrow with Cheryl, and maybe somebody from your organization agency can join one of her meetings.
Sure, no, absolutely. Please do. What I will say is what I have noticed in this community district, again, everyone has been super supportive, but there's been instances where clients may have missed a donation just given the way the coordination of drop-offs have gone. So I'd like to take the opportunity to have the conversation on how we can best work together with identifying where in this community district can we, maybe it's a house of worship, I don't know, a community center, where can we, we're happy to work with the community board to identify a designated drop-off location that we can then, let our clients know, hey, if you go to this particular location, you can receive clothing, hot meals, etc. Those are flyers, or if we could work with your board to get that information out to our sites. So
Leilani, that's not what the board is doing now, but that's what 3D Open Hearts is doing, and it's they meet monthly, and Cheryl puts out a list of everybody, and all the electeds are part of it.
So if if we could receive that as like a flyer, that would be very helpful for Cindy and her team, so we can get that out to the staff and hopefully get it translated and posted at the site, so folks can know what services and resources exist in the local community.
We'll be in contact with you tomorrow.
We have
excited about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We have the chief of staff from Dale Brewer's office, who's been with us forever. Okay. Sheila Pooter, and I think she could shed some light for us.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Sheila from
Hi.
office. Hi. Thank you so much again. I think with Roberta, I'm sure Leilani and we had mentioned over the past year plus, our office has really been working, I would say, lockstep with many of the best. With DSF, with H&H, also at the different sites, also with the shelters that have been here for a long time, also because of the families that have been here. In addition to that, I think it's been a really incredible partnership. I think Erica here from Linda's office too. It's been a really amazing partnership that Roberta just talked about with Cheryl and the JCC, Kristen, Colin, Andrew, DJ, Shalom. Not only a faith-based community, but also nonprofits too, and coming together and realizing what was working, what wasn't necessarily working. The resources had already been developed and sharing those as well. And I think just having the community of the community and coming together and realizing, including, you know, in District 3, school district 3, right, which was all the way up to 122nd Street, you know, there are different resources in different schools, right? And so there are some schools that are already there. Here's how we do the same with all these kids. And there are other schools within the, you know, within the district that didn't have access to those resources. And I think community, again, and helping and sharing what those resources are drive throughout, you know, all the way through this means with district has been really incredibly powerful and special, and definitely should be talked about all over the place, and everyone should be aware of it. And we would love how we can connect other people into those resources. I think also what we've been doing to our legislative budget director, Cynthia, is also a social worker. And what she also has been doing is going on, we have at least 3 staff who work on the issue, but she goes at least every couple of weeks, every 3 weeks, to each one of the sites for the H&H and the ESS site. And I would say in terms of the coordinating, and we're always, you know, working with Lonnie and her team, and also we're at with the H&H and her team, at the sites that have, you know, a nonprofit that is there in contact with the city. For example, just down the block at Belmore, you know, for the rescue fund, they have amazing social workers there. And we can talk to them in terms of the needs, and they can say, without obviously any type of, you know, confidentiality issues, they can say, for example, we did an amazing event around Mother's Day, and also clothing drives, and they can say, here are all the families, all these mothers, we have 7 expecting mothers. And here are all the ones that have ages this size, they need clothing, this size, they need clothing, this size, they need men's clothing. We can get really granular, and that's great, right? Because if you want to give, so that way people are getting things that are needed and not necessarily things that we didn't have a bunch of stuff that we didn't have to like ferret around other things. We'll figure it out. But and when people are able to do that, I think that's also helpful in terms of how people are responding to try to be supportive. In addition to that, also we've heard, you know, that for example, at the H&H on 70th Street, there are a number of concerns from community members, and I think it's not, you know, that people come in and, you know, even the best meeting, you know, even the staff are saying, well, okay, you can park here and like smoke right there, it's totally fine. And which may or may not be the actual information, right? And then it causes potential friction, right, in the neighborhood as well. And so we partnered together with the Knights, which have been nice, but they were amazing, and they're looking we worked really close with them. They were all throughout the city, and they also together have been doing a lot of, like Kenneth mentioned, about filling out the forms, actually helping people. It's very, very complicated. It's very, very important paperwork to have to fill out. Really sitting with people and doing it. It's a lot of amazing nonprofits doing this in the UI. And so we did a basically welcome to the neighborhood. We all bought a lot of people. And then we also did that and said, okay, here's what's in this neighborhood, here's the resources here, here's the library, here's free internet, you can how we get you ID and see cards, all those things. And you're not supposed to do this here, but you can do it here, right? So again, you don't have this friction and you people have information and resources. We've also worked together to do domestic violence workshops as well. And again, that was really in partnership with this communication that we've had with the agencies, but also with the nonprofits and with the contracting nonprofits within the shelter, saying this is something that we think some resources needed. And as you know, like Leilani mentioned, you know, a number of the sites, especially like the SROs, there's not common spaces, right? And so a lot of we've also worked with partners together. Also, Goddard has been a great partner, and identifying open spaces that are in the neighborhoods that are welcoming, they're convenient, you know, that's really important as well. And there are good times too that people can access the resources and be there. And so let me just go on and on forever, but I just want to give you a little bit of a sense of what we've done. I think the other sites, you know, where there's not a nonprofit, I know VOA just we're going to meet with them again next week, which is great. Some of the other sites where they're still waiting for the contract to come in, like the charity. There's an amazing social worker who's basically on deck, ready to step in. She was there before as well. She's incredible. So once she can get in officially, I mean, she's going to do the ground running. And she, again, a really amazing partner earlier in the year. She knew the family, she really needed to have support them. And we've also been, I would say, also Leilani, even really responsive at the times when, for example, maybe, there are some of the basic needs that appears there's been some type of lapse in communication and getting the things in order, like baby products and whatnot. That's what we've been doing. So go and just check in, see how things are going, talk to National Guard people there. When there have been blips, I would say, Leilani and her staff and her colleagues have been really, really quickly responsive to make sure that they, get addressed quickly. That's something that we've been trying to do also, just in terms of communication and really, and again, we also try to get as many specifics as we can, and we're happy to share that for them here also, so that first of all, it's free just today, right? But also maybe that way we know if we are meant to meet it or how we're supposed to meet it. That type of thing, so people can really match the needs of the host.
Okay, so the question is, in terms of the board, what can the board do? And I think one thing the board could do is the thing that is somewhat missing. Is people say, I want to do something, I don't know where to do it. Okay, I had a situation where I had 1,800 Rangers t-shirts for the gorgeous, right? And till I could find out how we could deliver, when we could deliver, how many people, and so on, it was 3 to 4 weeks. And people who were going to donate them were getting tired, and finally it happened. Okay, that was a specific thing. But if the board could be somewhat of a clearinghouse and have on our website information of what's happening, what's needed, who to go to, who's coordinating it. We can't coordinate, we wouldn't coordinate it, but certainly through your office.
We're definitely happy to partner with that. And I was thinking, going back to also Open Arms too, as I'm sure Leilani and Cindy had mentioned as well, there are some sites where, you can just go in and ask, right? But maybe that's not the most versatile, having people come in and saying, shelter staff. Also depends who's there and how the staff works and whatnot. I think, at Open Arms, also that's also true, like the parent coordinators, the social workers, the school, who also know exactly, what their needs are. Maybe coordinating in that way, and then together, so again, have information. I think, and Roberta's been at the OA meetings, I think other folks are welcome to. I think then we can identify what those specific needs are. And even GPC has been a really amazing partner too. And for example, right now, okay, so we did with like a new recycling, like a big recycling drive in the fall. We have Lori's Ecology there. People love all electronics, but also it was clothing and also towards donating for children, really specific items. But then we did like a big special day where people would come. So that's like a way of driving people towards, I think, a very specific need, specific location to drive it to. I think also we can do too is when I think Roberta mentioned K, Church St. Paul, St. Andrew. Every single Monday, they have amazing resources available. And I think they're excellent at really assessing what their needs are. And maybe that's also another place to say that people who say, okay, and so for example, those when people might think, well, it's clothing definitely right now, but it's not. For example, in most shelters, all the shelters, food is provided for, but they're not allowed to cook. So you wouldn't want people like donating all this food because that wouldn't be the right fit for that sort of thing. Although, for example, there are some of the, I know Church St. Paul and Andrew, and I think BJ just did one of amazing grants from Church of Latter-day Saints. I don't know if Cheryl mentioned also, she got a grant by the UPC Church of Latter-day Saints. I know Church St. Paul and Andrew is doing an amazing party for families and children, and that's going to be that's all taken care of, but now that's secret. And for example, we're partnering on Sunday, we're doing a free book fair. It's for everyone. But with Cheryl really thoughtfully applied, because we're also getting a grant to buy books and languages other than English, also in bilingual books. So we'll have not only for distribution there, but also in partnering together with the shelters so that children have books and that are going to be their own, which is going to explain how special and important it is, right?
What is that book there?
It's going to be different. And I'll be
Okay, please.
but then maybe like things like that we can really highlight, and that could be then, like to drive people who are, in the community, but also through all of your networks too, to really have an outlet for things that they want to do. And there's definitely opportunities also for people to do things as well. That's great.
Yeah, Shelly, Shula, it's a little, I can hear a little bit of what you're saying, Shula. And because we work so closely, I mean, your office is so on the ground and on the pulse and has been very, very supportive. I kind of already know what you said with a little, like, I think I understand some of the flags and challenges that's been presented, that you know, you and the councilwoman has made, you know, us aware about in regards to the sites that do not have nonprofits, the challenge in trying to get a consistent person to engage with and you know, flow of information. I think that's what I heard. And I just kind of want to take the opportunity while we have our assistant commissioner on the line. Her and I were chatting around ways we can try to like modify and improve that process, for the locations that do not have nonprofits attached to them just yet. It has been a little challenging, but I think what would be helpful, and this is something that we can do, is to provide, it sounds like what I was hearing you say, Shula, correct me if I'm wrong, is it would be more helpful if these sites that do not have the nonprofits, not like Belnord, but like the other sites that where there's no nonprofit operator on location, if we could provide you with like specific needs on what's needed at those locations would be helpful, is what I'm hearing. Okay. And that's something we can do.
This reminds me on a mini version of 107th Street. Okay, right? Where we said, one said we want everyone represented in the community advisory group. What is needed? Tell us what is needed. So people not only provided clothing and things, but also help with certain things, you know, support in ways that people needed it. I think this is a much larger scale, but if there are specific things, people will come forward if they know what's.
And I know that the councilwoman's office has been very, very good with that, you know, trying to stay on top of, you know, what are the needs at each of these locations. So we truly appreciate that. I think that we are trying our best as well to try to streamline and coordinate the flow of communication and in real time of what the needs are. And that's something that we now, thankfully, Cindy's unit is a new unit. Cindy is the best. We lost her in the single adult world, but now we have her with the sanctuary department, which we're very thrilled and eager about. And so as Cindy onboards and gets things all, you know, in order, these are some of the things that her and her team are trying to iron out and work through. And there's lots of success with, now that Cindy's in this position, we've seen lots of improvement. And this is something that we are cognizant and mindful of. And this is something that we'll work on. So I think it'll be helpful for us to get a list of needs specific, like what each site location, what the needs are. I think it'll be helpful to then circulate that with you, the councilwoman's office, the assemblywoman's office, the community board, and open arms. And then I think what would be helpful for us to do, and I know, Shula, you've done this, where if there's something happening in community and there's a flyer, you know, you circulate that with us, let us know about that, and then we can share that with our clients. Because as it stands, and that's been super successful and helpful to us. And I think if we can if you can all think of us in that capacity where we don't have enough space on these locations to you know, provide storage space, to hold these items. And we want to make sure everyone is taking advantage of the resources. So it would just be helpful for us if we can just receive a flyer of the information about where these locations are, and we can share that in real time with our residents. Is something that we are more than happy to circulate and share and distribute on our end. And in turn, like I said, we'll compile a list of specific needs at each location. I think that would be a great start.
Yeah, that's a great takeaway from this meeting. More coordination and letting people from both sides, people who would support voluntarily and the agency, to coordinate and to advertise and amplify the effects of what everyone's doing. And
Shelley,
so,
Erica has her hand up.
Who does?
Erica Overton.
Erica from Assembly Member Linda Rosenthal's office.
Oh, I didn't see. Okay. Erica,
Hey, hi, how are you? Erica Overton from Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal's office. I speaking on coordination, and Leilani, this may apply less to you than it does the Hercs, but for the TSP, when people are applying and they need to have an address when they're applying for it. So like for the Hercs, you have the 60-day notices now, so that kind of messes everything up because people who have applied and they're, the city doesn't seem like they're tracking them once they leave of where that address, where they're going, what address they're going to send to the federal government. How does that work for the DHS run shelters? Because I think there's concern of we're going to, all of this work went in to do that. A lot of money went in to do that. And then we're not actually tracking people once they fill out their TSP applications. And let's say they move from a DHS shelter. Does DHS keep track of where people are going, like a forwarding address or anything like that?
Cindy, do you know what that process? I would imagine we are, but Cindy, when folks are exiting out of are you talking, Erica, about temporary status?
Yes. Yeah, because they're not doing it for the Herc, so I wasn't sure if that was the same thing for DHS.
So I think that's a great point to bring up. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces with this. And I think in a perfect world, we would have exactly all of that information for everyone. For those who've already been in our system, right? And some have already exited, I'm not sure what they may have done, right? But to the extent possible, we are trying to get as much contact information from those clients so that we can remain in contact with them. If they are getting mail at our sites, we are holding mail. We are not returning mail. We are holding on to it, and we're letting them know, like, hey, if you have to move on or whatever, still be in contact with us because we know how important the mailings are. Even as much so, I'm trying to give samples out to the sites to like, hey, like hold these to the side specifically, right? Because we know what the mailings look like. This is, we wish that they had, in retrospect, right? We wish like there was like this automated system where people could go in and check and then could update this and all of that. So like these are lessons learned and ongoing discussions, but the short answer is we're trying to maintain all of their contact information, and we are not returning their mail. We are not forwarding their mail unless they've, agreed to do that.
I think that's good. I just feel like you guys, or DHS, when I say you guys, DHS is taking a more maybe proactive approach than I guess H&H is doing. And so maybe for the board, because I know the assembly member was interested in trying to get a uniform approach to making sure that people who had applied for TSP, there is the uniform infrastructure at the city level to make sure that people, are, as much as the city can, follow up with those who have already applied, who may have moved, just so that, the effort to get TSP, the, $34 million that has gone into the legal clinics from the state to help people apply isn't completely going to waste to some degree. So, maybe that's food for thought for the board as well.
No, also too, our partners at the Hercs, we're all in this together. We're all facing this at the same time. We're all constantly on multiple calls a week trying to pivot and trying to be in alignment. So, I don't want to speak for them specifically, but I know this is the attention of everyone, ensuring that we are not letting those efforts go to haste, right? We are trying to collectively, promote these families' paths forward, whatever it takes, right? So maybe if it wasn't done before, like we're, intercepting and we're pivoting to try and do the best that we can. So I know we're in constant conversations and we're all working towards the same goals.
No, and thank you for answering the question. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay. Well, we are so grateful, Cindy and Leilani, for having high-level people who are immersed in the good work with us tonight, to give us the information to share what's going on and to talk about what could be and how we can be involved. We certainly have another partner here in this committee and with CB7. So let's increase our contact on these issues, especially on what the needs are and how we can, as a board, but also as a communication tool to the community, support the good work. And we thank you for giving you a generous time this evening. Thank you.
No, truly appreciate the partnership and the understanding, right? And the patience, right? As we're trying to navigate this together. And it's more comforting when we know we have support such as what was displayed tonight, and really the community embracing the new arrivals. Like I'm truly, my heart is full, and I'm very grateful, and I'm thankful for the partnership, and however we can best assist so that we can, dually serve our new arrivals. Sign me up, sign me in, I'm there.
I echo everything that it's been a pleasure to work with your board all these years, and the elected officials that represents this district have also been super supportive and helpful as well. And that doesn't go unseen and underappreciated. So thank you. And I have some next steps. Roberta, please do connect with me offline. I'm excited about all the amazing work you all are doing. So thank you for that. And I'm excited to collaborate and work more closely with you all.
Thank you so much.
Let's show our appreciation.
Oh, yeah.
Have a good evening.
Good evening and happy holidays if we don't speak before, the holidays, which are right around the corner. Have a good night, everyone.
Good
Take
night.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Well, I like the idea that you brought up about, uploading some of the information to our community boards. But they do a great newsletter, like the whole team here with announcements. I think that would be a great place to start.
Yeah.
I would do say a blast in my building, for example.
We all have our
Yeah.
constituents.
Yes,
some way,
yes. Where they can donate.
Whether it be a religious institution, a tenants
Exactly.
association, or community.
Kelly,
Could we?
when there has been announcements, Alex has put them up on our newsletter. So there have been places to donate. There's been Alex has been great about, if she gets material from any of the organizations, especially say from Kay, from St. Paul and St. Andrew, she'll put it up on our website. So I think that's one of our best resources. And you could do it in Spanish too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the flyers too are in English and Spanish that we get sent as well.
Any other comments? You had fun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying, you have like a simple link that says, here are the 5 things you need right now, coats, whatever it is, and then here's a link to donate it. So it's simple for people, right? And then we can update that and we get requests of them. So in the spring, it'll be whatever we need, raincoat or whatever it is. And then so people just have a one-stop shopping place.
Excellent suggestion.
Yeah.
That
I
makes sense.
This separate but related issue on those education committees. District superintendent. The supposed making sure. This.
And where's that going to be?
Which education.
Okay. This Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I kind of have something to bring up. We chatted a little earlier today. I just had an idea on what we can do to help our homeless community or anyone who's hungry. I think most of you are familiar with the trash cans. I know that in Riverside they basically look like giant boxes, right? You have to you can push it on your foot to open the can, so you can open it yourself. Well, there's a backstory to it. It's kind of funny to say. There's these skateboarders I like watching on YouTube, or from California for visiting our city. And they pointed out this box, this trash box, and said that this is harmful for homeless people to find food. That it's not welcoming for people who are looking for food. And people will be in a trash can. I understand that. I understand why we have it, to kind of help control our rodent population, things of that nature. So I wanted to propose the idea of how we can find a way to advertise to some degree on the trash can where to find food. Whether it's a QR code link to list of city of things in the city to go and get food. Because the trash can is filling its duty, but if someone is hungry, and I know this sounds strange, but there might be a QR code link. You know, just because someone's homeless doesn't mean they don't have technology, right? And we also have our former phone booths that are charging connectors. You can get a phone easily. So I was thinking of a way of how we can figure out to advertise on our trash cans, specifically those trash cans, where to find food in addition to finding shelter and things of that nature.
That is great. I have a sheet which I have to update of 17 sites where you can get food from breakfast to lunch to dinner to food, any food. And we have them in our community. Most people don't know. We know about one or two. So maybe we could somehow put that together. That's like a project.
Yeah.
Good
That's
stuff.
a great idea. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, turn-
Even the link. The link.
Yeah.
Different places, you know, on the polls now that everybody's sitting with no polls.
Yeah, QR code. Yeah.
Okay, good idea. Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay, so this was very worthwhile. Thank you for your initiative on this, and we are moving into holiday season. So as people again, stay safe, number one. Kindness always is a great gift, right? And everybody should be well and enjoy the holiday season. We have our, I think the word well stuff. Okay, everybody know the date?
The 19th.
The 19th, which is what day of the week?
The 19th.
It's important. Max has asked as what we should, their suggestions to what we've had. What he had there was something, but in the past when we had holiday things, maybe a little more distant than, it was much more elaborate. Okay, we have to, so people willing to bring dishes that a number of people can eat from. And let's see if we can suggest that. If people just want the get together, have some drinks and sweets and crackers, then maybe that's what we, that's what.
Well, I don't know, maybe everyone should bring, probably a bottle of because in addition to.
Oh, in addition to.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, in addition to, because in the past, we would have that here. And if we're not gonna have that here, then the only way to do it would be if everyone brought, yes.
Okay, something to think about and contact Max.
Okay.
Your ideas and see.
Yeah.
Whether there's a need to do more than. More basically.
Yeah.
The 2 bottles might be better than one.
Well, I'm just suggesting one because there's a lot of
Okay,
us.
so we're
There's a lot of us.
winding down. So motion.
And it was gonna take.
Okay.
Beverly has her hand raised.
Hi, Shelley, I know you're about to sign off. I just wanted to call your attention to 2 questions, or actually 1 question, in the Q&A from Larry Wood, asking whether the community board could support a motion or an advocacy against the 15% cuts to city agencies, which are going to absolutely have an impact on the subject matter we've discussed this evening. So I just wanted to.
Really, I think that's that the Budget Strategy Committee will do this coming
Okay.
week. Because
Right.
it's really district needs.
All right. I just wanted to make sure we recognized
Yep.
our.
We'll definitely do
question.
that in the Budget and Strategy Committee.
Thank
Larry
you.
Wood is a wonderful veteran
Larry.
of the case taking care of people who
Oh, yes.
got it and others. He's wonderful. And so I think we have suggested we should take it very seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor. Okay.
Right. That was good.